Welcome to In Conversation with MANWAR podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Do Not Be a Bystander campaign. You can join us in raising awareness about bullying by visiting donotbeabystander.com, and be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay informed about upcoming episodes. Today's participants are Shanza, Afza, and Faiza. Our special guest for today's episode is Jenna Williams.
Welcome to Bullying Awareness Podcast. I'm your host, Manwar Khan. Today I'm joined by three young individuals who are ready to share their thoughts and insights on the topic of bystanders. They all have the same goal: eliminating bullying in school and communities, where bystanders play a crucial role. These young individuals are passionate and about this issue, and they are ready to empower others, and that's why you see are here today. Today's participants are Shanza, Afza, and Faiza. Thank you
Hi.
guys for joining here today.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Before I continue, I would like to introduce our special guest for today's podcast, Jenna William. I want to talk a little bit about Jenna. um, Jenna was raised by her parents in Edmonton, Alberta, alongside her brother. At the end of the third grade, her family moved to a different area in the city, causing her to transfer schools. Jenna found it challenging to connect with her peers, since most of the kids had already formed their own groups. With her teacher's help, Jenna found friends who accepted her personality, though sometimes she would feel social pressure to quiet down. Later in her life, Jenna learned she had ADHD, a learning disability which gave her clarity as to why she acted and learned differently than other kids in her classes. Jenna is now on the NATE Student Association Executive Council as a Vice President External, advocating for ADHD and learning disabilities, and as well as making the campus and surrounding area safer for students. And it's just basically she's working towards safer our communities. Such a great bio. Thank you so much, Jenna, for joining us today. And just so you know, Jenna will be shedding some lights on bystanders. We'll listen to you guys and give some tips and advice to you. And just for your information, if I'm not looking at you and I'm looking over there, that does not mean I'm looking at you guys. Actually, I have a bigger screen here and I can see everyone on that screen. That's why sometimes I look at there. This is not I'm looking for food or anything. Okay, so I'm actually looking at you, but here is the camera and the different screen. All right, so now that we have introduced our participants and guests, let's get started with our first round question. The role of bystanders in bullying situation is essential, as their action or inaction can significantly impact the outcome of the well-being of those who are involved. So my first question goes for Afza. What is the definition of bystander, and what is the role of bystanders in a bullying situation?
So bystanders are basically people who are present during the incident or witness the incident but does not take part in it or does not do anything to stop it. But in a bullying situation, we cannot fully blame them because they also have the fear of being bullied themselves because bullies sometimes tend to go after the bystanders too. But I think they should still try and help the victims and by maybe defending them or try and change the subjects to distract the bullies or report the bullies to trusted adults, or even just to reach out to the victims and encourage them to stand up for themselves. Is I think what bystanders should do.
Excellent. Great answer. So basically, what we are saying is, in a bullying situation, bystanders has an important role to play. You also have to make sure that you are in a safe position before you intervene in a situation like that. But yes, we just cannot say this is not my problem and I walk away from there. If you cannot help, try to get help from someone. Helping or intervening really does not mean you have to go physically and intervene. Sometimes calling someone, getting help from someone, calling an adult, school counselor, or someone, even if it's a physical violence situation and it becomes like that, you call 911. But just don't walk away from there. That's all the message we want to say to everyone, right, Afza? Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yes, I agree with that.
Perfect. So, my next question for Faiza, there are several blockades that can prevent bystanders from intervening in a bullying situation. So, my question for you, what are some common barriers that can prevent bystanders from intervening?
Well, most times, bystanders, they themselves are scared of being bullied by the perpetrator, and they're scared of what would happen if they stepped in. They're scared of the consequences they would face if they step in. And sometimes people just don't care. They don't bother intervening since it's not their business.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't know if you know, my campaign "Do Not Be a Bystander" started with a situation like that 10 years ago. I was in a train. There was a brutal attack in the train, and eventually unfortunately, one person died. And there was a full of passengers, and uh, I ended up being the only person who tried to intervene and could not save that person. I still today I do not blame any other passengers because everyone has their reason not to get involved in this, right? So that's why I didn't think that much that day. I thought that would be the right thing to do at that time. But again, you always have to um, uh, think for if you are in a safe position to intervene. But there will always be barriers, and we have to consider those. And if how we can overcome those barriers, we might have to think about those too. And sometimes education and creating awareness campaign like this and fostering a culture of empathy and responsibility can help. So, but no, great answer. Thank you, Paiza. So, my next question for Shanza. Bystanders choose to intervene in a bullying situation, and at that time, when they choose that, they decide to intervene, there can be a potential risk. So, my question for you, Shanza, what are the potential risks faced by bystanders who intervene?
So, bystanders who try to intervene in the fight may get bullied themselves. Then, for example, if the bully is angry, then they might push or do something to the bystanders. And, for example, they're just pushing them harshly and, lower their confidence on the, or, the bully might start a fight with the bystander instead of the victim. So, I think these are some like potentials bystanders have to face when they intervene in the fights.
Right, exactly. These are the risks, I would say. Yeah, that there are some risks when you do this kind of work or try to help someone. Yes, there might be some risk, but I would say think that way. Uh, I mean, I always think I tell my kids this way. that I'm scared. I don't wanna, I am a bystander. I don't wanna intervene because I'm scared. Think about the person, the victim, how scared that guy or that girl is compared to you.
Yeah.
We are not even impacted. We are just watching this, but we are scared. So if you think that way, and if sometimes if you can relate the situation with yourself, like, okay, think of if this could be my brother, my sister, my family, or my best friend, would I be just watching and doing nothing? And sometimes that helps. But again, at the bottom line, safety comes first. You have to make sure you are in a safe position, and then you try to intervene. Excellent answer. Thank you, Shanzan. With the
Welcome.
completion of questioning, we will now move on to our final segment of this podcast. Now, I would like to invite our special guest, Jana, to share her thoughts on bystanders and give some advice for our participants and viewers. Jana.
Thank you. Yeah, what everyone said was pretty much spot on for what bystanders are. They're just people who might be afraid of what's going on, and they feel like they either don't have the power or they're just afraid of being bullied themselves, so they just don't intervene. But there are good and bad bystanders. And so that's kind of something I want to shed light on. And so a good bystander is someone who may be silent, but will take action either um, uh, like after the fact. So they'll tell a parent, they'll tell a teacher, or if it's like a bigger issue in the community, they may call the police. Like they'll kind of walk away and alert people outside of the situation. Um, or they can take action after the fact, as well as such as like reporting what they see and then going home and then reporting it afterwards. So there's that. And then a good bystander may also be someone who can intervene, providing medical assistance or using their experience or knowledge to de-escalate the situation. Now, on the contrast, there is a bad bystander. And bad is not necessarily like placing blame or anyone, but it's just the opposite of good. So, just bad bystander. So a bad bystander is someone who doesn't take any action at all. Not because they're afraid, but it's just because they just simply don't care. And they can also be a bad bystander by intervening at a time or in a way that may actually escalate the situation and make things 10 times worse. So you just kind of have to use just kind of use your own perspective and how you're feeling in the moment to, if it's a bullying situation, I know myself, I was definitely the silent kind of bystander and I would take action after the fact. So there were instances where I would make notes. If there was a bully who would just do like repeat offenses, I would take notes and I would also tell a teacher and my parent every single time. So then that way they knew that it was an ongoing issue. If it's just a one-time thing and, you can kind of gauge like, hey, this person isn't really acting like themselves, then you can intervene and just be like, hey, like maybe you should maybe walk away, like kind of take a breath. Yeah, so just kind of like use your own judgment. If you are the type to intervene, props to you. Just make sure that what you say isn't something that's going to escalate the situation.
Excellent. Thank you, Jana. I just want to add something when you mentioned about different kind of bystander here, um, who has sometimes unknowingly escalate the situation. For example, you just stand there and watch. That's actually giving the power to the bully, and he or she is thinking that, okay, I have support here. Sometimes even some people do recording. They are recording the whole thing. So sometimes bystander do the recording and bully get a message that, okay, I'm doing great, Now some people are recording even this. Um, there's a good thing, there's a bad thing. I would not say that do not record at that time. I think this is an evidence. You record it and you show it to your teacher, counselor, school board trustee, principal, whoever it is, law enforcement agencies. It is important, but do not give the message that you are escalating this or you are encouraging that and you are okay with it. Sometimes, like Jenna said, that sometimes you might just have to say, hey, maybe this is a one-time thing if it is a one-time thing, but if you think that this is not right thing, if and it is safe position, you are not alone there, and in a bigger group, you can maybe saying that, yeah, what you are doing is not right. This is the only sentence you might have to say, and you will be surprised that that might make a difference. Excellent. Thank you, Jenna. So we have come to the end of the podcast. I would like to thank our participants, and I also want to thank today's guest, Jenna. Thank you, Jenna, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Thank you so much for our listening to our today's podcast. And before we wrap up, I would like to remind our listeners that there are several resources available to help individuals dealing with bullying. Government of Alberta has a bullying helpline which can be reached at 1-888-456-2323. Bullying is a violation of human right. Under no circumstances bullying is acceptable. As a community, we have shared responsibility to stand against bullying and refuse to be a bystander. Thank you for joining in conversation with Manwar Khan, and see you next week.